Hello there. Welcome to another episode of your favorite sports show, EPL Updates. This is where we give you all the gist, drama, upsets, and happenings in the English Premier League. I remain your host, Dennis Erezi. Today on the show, we will be looking at a couple of fixtures ongoing in the English Premier League, and some of these fixtures include Chelsea versus Brighton, Tottenham will host Bournemouth FC, Manchester City, who are in the race for the title, will host Leicester City, Arsenal, the league leaders, will host West Ham in a North London derby, Manchester United will host Southampton, Aston Villa faces Newcastle, Fulham will be playing Everton, and Wolves versus Brentford. Haven't have an understanding of these matches, so we just go straight down into the analysis and what to expect for some of these matches, especially for some of you out there who are bookmakers, and you know what I mean. So first, Chelsea welcoming Brighton to Stamford Bridge, and as you're all aware that this is the third match that Chelsea's interim manager Frank Lampard will be taking charge ever since the club let go of their previous coach, Graham Potter, after a bad run of form. Now, since Chelsea have, appointed Lampard in an interim coaching capacity, the results haven't, really been coming that way. Because in the first match, Chelsea lost 2-0. In the second match, which was in the Champions League against Real Madrid, Chelsea lost 2-0 again. And Frank Lampard and the boys are sitting on a really tight rope, and it can be really difficult before Chelsea can say they want to get something out of the season. But bearing in mind that they will be playing a Brighton side that has a lot of good players firing on all cylinders. I'm talking about players like Caicedo. I'm talking about players like Alex McAllister. These players are really good players that can hunt down any good team on their very good day. And so that we do not really make a mess of Chelsea, because they are also not without some quality. Yao Felix is there. They've got Mikhailo Mudryk, who they signed for £100 million from Shakhtar Donetsk, and still got a couple of really experienced players who can change the results for them on a very good day. However, with the poor run of form that Chelsea has been on in recent times, I really don't see a way that this Chelsea side will be coming out of this fixture unscathed. So my prediction and what I think might be the outcome of this game is Chelsea to either lose the match or draw to Brighton, even though they're playing at Stamford Bridge. And that is really how terrible Chelsea's form has been in recent times. Now, going to the next match, which is between Tottenham Hotspur and Bournemouth. Now, Tottenham find themselves in a very similar situation as that of Chelsea, because just in the past few weeks they also let their manager Antonio Conte go, and currently they only have some of the academic coaches taking on the first team. And ever since Conte had left the job on mutual consent with the club hasn't really been doing well. They've been having a lot of epileptic performances, not really getting the deserved results, even though a lot of players like Richarlison did insist that they've been putting in their best, but I think that their best hasn't been enough. And coming against a team like Bournemouth, a team who is fighting relegation, and on the other side, Tottenham seem to be fighting for a Champions League space. Even that would really be difficult, bearing in mind that they have that space to contend against Manchester United, contend against Newcastle, contend against even Arsenal to a great extent, and Manchester City. So I think that Bournemouth Football Club, with the likes of Dominic Solanke, with the likes, of Ashley Barnes, really have a lot of quality that can be enough to pose a lot of threats to Tottenham. And my guess for this Tottenham match is very similar to that of Chelsea prediction, and I am predicting that Bournemouth will actually go to the White Hart Lane and nick a win off Tottenham. I'm sorry, Tottenham fans, you might not like that, but that's what I see in my crystal ball. So we move to the next fixture on our list, which is the match at the Etihad, when Manchester City will be welcoming Leicester City. And this match has a lot of so this particular match between Manchester City and Leicester City has a lot of unique features around it, and a lot of factors to consider that might affect the circumstances at which this match will be played at the Etihad Stadium. One of these factors is that Manchester City, do not forget, last week, hosted Bayern Munich in the Champions League at the Etihad Stadium and went away with a 3-0 victory. And this coming week, Manchester City will have to travel down to Germany, where a lot of teams have crumbled to this, giant Bayern Munich side in the Champions League. And the sort of atmosphere that this presents means that, Pep Guardiola and the Manchester City players might actually have their minds more focused on the Champions League match against Bayern Munich over this Premier League game. And now it becomes more dicier because Manchester City, like I mentioned earlier, are also in the running for the Premier League title with league leaders Arsenal at the moment. And also it's important to note that Arsenal has one more game played more than Manchester City. And what makes this fixture a very delicate one is because Leicester City, who won the Premier League title in 4 seasons ago, find themselves in a really messy situation, fighting for survival in the English Premier League. And bearing in mind that the UEFA Champions League has been the holy grail that Manchester City and Pep Guardiola are yet to win in their 7-year stint in that competition, I just think that it's very likely that Manchester City and Pep Guardiola might prioritize the Champions League match with Bayern Munich over this Premier League fixture. On the other hand, similarly to Chelsea, similar to Tottenham, Leicester City also did recently let their manager Brendan Rodgers leave, and who they have in place right now is an interim manager that is trying to keep the team together until the end of the season. So I think that this match, like I mentioned earlier, is a very delicate one, but be it as delicate as it is, I feel that even if Pep Guardiola decides not to go full throttle in this match and decides to even field in the French players within the Manchester City squad, I feel that they have enough weapon in their arsenal to be able to get this match over Leicester City. So my prediction is Manchester City winning Leicester City. So the next match we're looking at is the league leaders Arsenal hosting West Ham in what is a North London derby. And this match couldn't have come in a more delicate time than this, because Manchester City, who are on the hunt to Arsenal in getting. So Manchester City are on the hunt, to catch up with Arsenal, and it is more difficult for Arsenal at this period because we know that they have a largely inexperienced side compared to a Manchester City side that has won the last 4 out of 5 Premier League titles. And Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta will be very wary of what the situation and the condition of things are for his team at the moment. And it becomes more complex and delicate because Manchester City play their game 24 hours before Arsenal will face West Ham. Should Manchester City win their game, as I predicted earlier, it means that the Gunners will be under an intense pressure, to try to win against West Ham United led by David Moyes. Now, on the side of West Ham United, it is also a very delicate situation because just like Leicester City that is facing Manchester City, they also find themselves in a sort of relegation battle. I mean, this is a team that has been competing on European fronts in recent times, but like they do say that sometimes good times don't really last, and that is where West Ham United find themselves. And my final prediction for this game is that Arsenal will nick a win over West Ham United to, consolidate on their points and give a proper response to Manchester City in the title race. The next match we're looking at the moment is Manchester United versus Southampton. Manchester United, getting just one win since February isn't a sort of record that their manager Erik ten Hag will want from the boys. And considering the fact that in the midweek during the UEFA Europa League, Manchester United did let a 2-goal lead slip off their hands when they played Sevilla, a team that has huge experience on the European continent, fighting back at the dying minute of the game to nick a draw at the Old Trafford. And bearing in mind that the team has to travel down to Seville in Spain for the return leg, Manchester United are very well aware that they have to provide a proper response and get momentum on their side, so they will be able to, go there and put the chestnut out of the fire when they face Sevilla. On the side of Southampton, things, seem to be looking good for the team at the moment. They are not in any relegation battle. Their star player, talking about James Ward-Prowse, seem to be, doing well for himself, scoring free kicks like he has always done. And I feel that because the match will be played at Old Trafford, I feel Manchester United should be able to get enough home support to, motivate the players and get a win over Southampton. We go to the next fixture on our list, and that is Aston Villa versus Newcastle. Now, Aston Villa has been under some sort of resurgence ever since they appointed former Arsenal manager, former Villarreal manager in the person of Unai Emery. Now, since he has returned to the Premier League early this year, no team has gotten more points, more wins in the Premier League than Aston Villa. And indeed, you can agree with me that, Newcastle with their blistering form, trying to get Champions League football, indeed face a big test, when they play against Aston Villa at the Villa Park. My prediction for this match is that it will go Aston Villa way, because I feel, the set of players and Unai Emery are not done yet in proving a point to the rest of the league that they are not pushovers. Now, the next match we're looking at is Fulham versus Everton. Now, Fulham, returning from the Champions League last season, have really done well for themselves, and facing an Everton side that is also likely to go down in this relegation fight. I feel that, this is one of the matches where it can actually go either ways, because both teams seem to be, fighting for the same cause, that is staying up in the Premier League. And because the match, will be played at Craven Cottage, and, Fulham will have the support of the home fans, I think that should be enough to act as the 12th man on the pitch for them to nick a win of Everton. So for the final match you're looking at, it is Wolves versus Brentford. Now make no mistake about it, Brentford last season, this season, are one of the top overachievers in the English Premier League, and I feel that this is one of the matches where they come to show indeed that indeed we are not the whipping boys in the Premier League, and indeed we can actually show a fight on the day that we're called upon. And on the other side, for Wolves, a traditional team that should be fighting for some of the European places suddenly find themselves below par, even though they are still sitting on the mid-table of the Premier League. I feel that this is also one of the matches where Brentford, will continue to shock a lot of people in the Premier League, having their star man Ivan Toney back, and then their coach Thomas Frank consistently getting the accolades for getting things right so far this season. Guys, thank you. That is all we have for you on today's show. I really hope that you did enjoy it, and to keep in touch with us, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to this channel on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and make sure that you share this video on your timeline. Till I come your way again, this is Dennis Erezi. Bye for now.